On October the 7th, 2008, Spotify secured licensing deals with the biggest labels in the music industry. That day, it shifted the balance of power and took control of the entire music industry. It's time we take it back. In the Charles Dickens book A Tale of Two Cities, there was a very famous quote which said, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." It described London and Paris during the French Revolution, where the rich were living in palaces, meanwhile the poor were dying in the streets. That division became revolution. Now that was in 1859, and now it's 2025, and this resembles the music industry very eerily in the situation that we are currently in. Musicians and artists of this time period are slaves to the system. When music went digital, back in the day, we were promised freedom, and I do believe for a long period of time we did get that. For a while, you can upload a song. You are in control of the distribution. You are in control of the growth and the housing of your fan base to be able to monetize what you do. The problem here is, whilst the labels lost control and the artists were able to take that control, year after year, the labels have been clawing back that control. They went from being the gatekeepers where there was no way in to now pretty much the same situation. If you think about it, the labels have all of the control. And then what they do is they go and invest in new artists and new music, which then keep that control. Meanwhile, DIY artists are feeding on scraps that have just fallen off the dinner table. And whilst you do have control and you can build on platforms like TikTok, I feel like I'm so frustrated with helping artists and getting really solid results. Sometimes getting millions or even tens of millions of streams only to be rewarded with an egotistical pat on the back, And I'm like, it's not good enough. When you build something and you house an audience and a fan base and you do something really special, you write music that people genuinely want to listen to time and time again, and you build up solid numbers on those streaming platforms only for you to get less than minimum wage for the time and effort you've put in. It's got to the point where something is just horrendously wrong, and it's time for us to change this. Let's do some math. So Spotify, I'm using Spotify, but I'm using that as a phrase for all DSPs. So Spotify in the US, which is where I am, is $12 for a month. And for your $12, as a consumer, you get access to every song. In fact, not just songs, podcasts and everything else, but you get access to pretty much every song that's ever been written in the history of music. There's around about 100 million, give or take, tracks on Spotify that you get access to. And every day, artists from around the world release music and might release another 100,000 tracks onto Spotify per day. Let's say, for argument's sake. Tomorrow, there'll be another 100,000 tracks uploaded to Spotify. The next day, there might be another 50 to 100 million tracks uploaded to Spotify. Millions, sorry, not thousands. And the price is still $12. And there's not more time in the day to consume this. So you're getting a better product every single day. The problem is it still stays at $12. Musicians become this slave to the system where we have to kind of month by month carry on feeding the system in order to try and get the money or try and get some opportunities. Meanwhile, the labels, they own all of the opportunities. They don't just own most of the music because they're not getting paid in the same way as you are. So as a DIY artist, you get paid 0.003 dollars, or effectively a third of 1 cent for every stream. But the major labels don't get that. The major labels take a big chunk of money, and then whatever's left over goes to all the DIY artists. But if you look at that streaming model, it doesn't work sort of as you scale it over a period of time, because there aren't an extra 5, 10, 15, 20 billion people that are yet to buy into Spotify. And, Spotify have put their prices up, once in 10 years? I mean, I remember paying £10, £10 from the UK, but £10 when I first started on Spotify. Now it's $12. It's gone up $2, which is ridiculous. And so what the labels are getting is not just the music, but they get the power because they have the money in advance to be able to invest. They've negotiated the cash. They get the algorithm because they're in the control. They have the power. They have all of the influence. And meanwhile, you get the scraps. You get to say that your music is live, and you get to start trying to promote your music, all for the sake of a third of a cent per stream. And we all know that music isn't free. It isn't free to produce. It never was. It never has been free. And yes, there are amazing ways because of technology that allow you to cut costs. So when I first went into a good studio back in the day, it was about $1,500 to $2,000 a day for that studio, and you might be in there for 2, 3, 4 weeks. You couldn't afford that. I certainly couldn't afford that when I was a kid. And so record labels would be there to say, look, you can't afford it, but we can afford it. And then what would happen is they'd say, look, you need to print out this many CDs and get them into all of the record shops. You can't do that, obviously. So therefore, we can afford to do it, and we've got the infrastructure to put it in record stores. And then we try and sell it. Now, obviously, everything is on Spotify, and you can upload it yourself for $20 with the infrastructure. The thing with this system where you're having to pay for now the music because the record label used to do it, and you're paying for the promotion, and you're paying for the distribution and the ads and everything else, you're having to build a fan base. So you're having to do everything. And under today's system, not only do you have to do everything and not get paid for it, but you have to say thank you at the same time. And this model doesn't keep scaling and scaling. And more importantly, the control has been taken back, I think. If you look at the 90s, the 2000s, the labels had control, but the labels needed control because they'd have to put in $500,000, $1 million, $1.5 million in order to get music into stores. It's like, that's just a cost. Whereas nowadays, they don't have to do all of those things. They will promote it, but they're looking a lot of the time, looking for artists to do a lot of the work, a lot of the donkey work where it's like you get on socials and you push the numbers. Now, I work with a lot of artists on building their numbers. And there's nothing better than when you're sitting with an artist, not with a label, but sitting with an artist and you're talking about some amazing results. And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's flying. I remember sitting in a meeting about 3 months ago with an artist who's getting approximately about 100,000 streams per day on a song. And we were like, yeah, this is amazing. And to be honest with you, it makes a decent amount of money, but it's not life-changing amounts of money. If you look at it, especially when you've then got a label involved, you've got writers, you've got the artists, you've got all of these different things and how it gets cut up. And you're like, this just isn't making enough money. And then you've got taxes and everything else that you've got to do at the same point. So it's become, I made a video recently about this, but it's just become more unfair. The inequality within the music industry has become even more unfair than it was in the 90s and 2000s. And I truly believe when Spotify first came on the scene, there was probably about, 10 years, maybe a bit longer than that, where I was like, this is unbelievable for artists. You get all of the control, you get to build, you get to do things that you've never been able to do before. But slowly and surely, that inequality started to creep in. The labels take a bit more, and this is just streaming. If we look at an artist today, I'm preaching to the converted with you guys, but, if you look at the cost of touring now, it's like, over the last 30 years, we've seen the price of tickets go up and up and up. And it's like, oh, there's actually ways of making money outside of the music itself. And then that starts to get eroded because the price of tickets gets expensive, but the cost of touring becomes just unattainable. It's impossible. You start hiring a tour bus in the US and it costs you, $2,000-$3,000 a day. And it's like, well, how do I do that? How do I make that work when I'm selling tickets? So it's like, back in the van. And that's just a tour bus. You've got the cost of living of where people stay, of the accommodation, of the food, of the people that you're trying to take with you, because the tech or the lighting person or the sound person has to get paid, and they need to get paid more because of the cost of living. Touring's just getting to the point now where it isn't feasible. And then you have merch. And you go, well, merch is a way that you can start to make some money. But with all of the hidden costs and the hidden taxes and the shipping fees have just gone up, all of a sudden you sell a t-shirt, you're lucky to make $5. And you think, well, that's great and all, but I've developed this amazing bond with someone who loves me so much that they want to buy a t-shirt from me, and I get $5. They're not going to buy a t-shirt every day. They're not going to buy a t-shirt every week. And so therefore, how am I going to live minimum wage off t-shirt sales where I'm getting $5? The math doesn't math. It doesn't work. And I've been thinking about it for a while, probably why I've been a bit quiet on the channel, of what do we do about this? Because I've always had this you're in control. And the problem now is I'm looking at it going, you are in control, but they've taken all of the they've taken all the good bits away. At least when we were making art, here's another example. I'm spitballing a bit here, but here's another example. So I live in Nashville, and I love Nashville. It's amazing. But fuck me, it's just cookie cutting. It's just stick loads and loads of songwriters in a room and go, what are we going to write about today? Well, we're probably going to write about whiskey, and we're probably going to write about trains and trucks and F-150 or Chevy Silverado, and it goes round and round in circles. And I'm like, how do we get the next Pink Floyd? How do we get the next Jeff Buckley? Because we ain't going to get it where we have to release 50 songs. Because, that's another thing. It's what can we do to get ahead? I tell you what we need to do. We all need to release one song every single week. Is that what this has come to now? It's I know we can get traction if we're putting a song out a week. And then I have to sit in a label or with an artist and be like, can you write 50 songs, please? It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And meanwhile, because we're in this disposable era of music where people go, yeah, I had that. Throw it away. What's next? Throw it away. What's next? Meanwhile, the consumer's just paying $12. $12, and that's in the US. Across all of the different countries, they pay differently, but approximately you're paying a tenner, effectively. Now, put that into perspective. For a tenner, right? I'm in the US, I go out and I buy a McDonald's Big Mac, fries, and a Coke. Just a Big Mac meal, a standard Big Mac meal. It's $10. I go into Starbucks, you and me, and I'll be like, what do you want? You go, I'll have a latte. I'll go, I'll have a latte as well. 2 lattes, please. It's $12. We're out at the bar, we're out at the pub, and I'm like, do you want a beer? Yeah, I'll go and grab some. I'll go and grab 2 beers. It's $10 to $12. And for that, what consumers are getting is every song in history for an entire month, in perpetuity, effectively. Whatever's come, you get. Whatever's coming, you're going to get that too, for the same price of $12. Not only is it not scalable, but it's now become the most unfair system, especially when the labels are taking such a massive chunk anyway. So something needs to be done. And here's what I think we do. I think we must have a new minimum wage for artists. And I think we must not have to just take the scraps off the table. 1 stream, 1 cent. And it shouldn't be the labels get to eat first and then the DIY artists get to eat the scraps. It needs to be one standard system. 1 stream, 1 cent. Because that's even playing field. And if you think about your Drake, okay, and Drake goes and gets 1 billion streams on a piece of music. Well, great. You're going to make $10 million because you just got 1 billion streams, because you got 1 cent for every stream. He still works. And UMG, Warner or Sony, they're still going to get a massive chunk of the pie because their artists are basically bringing in more streams. Now, I know what you're saying. You're going to say, yeah, but who's going to pay for this? The consumer, the fucking consumer. Of course it should be the consumer. I know we always take a big pot shot at Daniel Ek and Spotify, but this is the consumer. How ridiculous is this, right? For $10, well, sorry, $12 now, but for $12, okay, if we divide that up with 1 cent per stream, Okay, that is 1,200 streams per month. That works out at 40 songs that I could listen to for my $12. 40 songs every day. That's over 2 hours worth of music every single day. Now, for people who go, I listen to 6 hours, well, fucking pay for it. You should pay for it. Like, you got to pay for everything else. You can't just walk in and went, oh, I bought a coffee yesterday. Can I just refill this up, please? I've got a month's worth because I bought one. No. You listen to your 2 hours for $10. You want more, you pay for more. That's what it should be. And if you can't afford it, you can't fucking have it. Like everything else in the entire world. Why is it that if you want a Ferrari, you got to love a Ferrari, can't afford it? But I can have every song that's ever been written in the history of the world, no matter how good, because I've paid $12 for 30 to 31 days. Like, it's utterly unrealistic, and it's utterly ridiculous. So we need this one stream, 1 cent. We have to be able to campaign for it. And I've been thinking about this for a while. I want this minimum wage for musicians. And I feel like, I hear the argument of like, we just got to boycott Spotify. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Like Taylor Swift tried that. If Taylor Swift tried that and it didn't work for Taylor Swift, then, Jeff from the Ronda or like Phil from Kansas City is probably not going to work. So we don't take that. We don't take our music off, but we have to start doing a couple of things. I've got a bunch of ideas. Okay, here's what I think we need to do. Okay, number one, we need to show the truth. And this isn't just a YouTube video, by the way. I'm making this YouTube video as the start. I want this to be a movement, and I want us to come together as an industry of DIY artists, of thousands, if not tens, if not hundreds of thousands of artists, to say, look, this isn't happening, right? Not only are we not going to do your work for you and thank you for it without getting the money. I'm all for musicians doing the work. I'm all for artists releasing music. Just pay them what they're worth. Like a minimum wage, which should be the same as Drake. Drake, Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran, they should be getting the same amount of money per stream as anyone else. The only difference is Ed Sheeran will just get more, and that's fine because he's really good. So therefore, maybe he should get more, but he shouldn't get more per stream. That's bullshit. Why should Ed Sheeran get more money per stream than you? That isn't fair, because time is the same everywhere. If I listen to your song and I don't want to listen to Ed Sheeran, which is probably fair, that money should go to you. It just, it should. So we need to show the truth, okay? And what I mean by that is we need to start sharing this stuff about streaming payouts and royalties on socials. We need the world to know, because we have to not just convince people that they have to pay more money for music, which is going to be really, really hard, but they have to understand the math. They have to understand that the math isn't mathing. They have to understand that right now they could spend $10 on 2 lattes or get every song in the history of the world ever, and that doesn't divide to all of the musicians that they know and that they love. So they have to see that this world is broken. They have to see that this not only isn't fair, but how this is going to work. We have to tell the world that your music costs money. And in order to do that, they need to see how much you're making. Because most people, they love music and they love artists. And I think most people who don't understand the math would be mortified if they realized that you got 1 million spins and probably got a couple of grand, which is probably minimum wage in most countries in the Western world, for 1 million streams. It's ridiculous. Number two, like when we explain the math, as I've done, we need to be able to say, yeah, two Big Macs. That's all of the music in the world. If people start to understand this, they'll go, that's bullshit. Like I've had this conversation a couple of times today, and people go, God, yeah, when you put it like that, that's ridiculous. I can have as much music as I want. I can literally wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and I can start listening to it on Spotify, and I can carry on listening to it until 12 at night when I go to bed, and I can do that every day for 30 days for $12. You're right, that's bullshit, because those artists are not getting the money. Number three, we have to shout this message. Like we need this on socials. We need this on live gigs. People need to know. And the phrase and the slogan needs to be 1 stream, 1 cent. That's it. We all have to come together. One stream, 1 cent. We have to campaign for it. We need everyone talking about it so that it becomes more than just a couple of DIY artists who are whinging down the pub about Spotify taking all of the money. It's not about Spotify taking all the money. It's the fact that people just assume that music's free. They just go, nah, fuck you, I don't like it. I'd rather have free music. Of course you would. But do you know what? If all the musicians go away, it's going to suck. So everyone needs to know. We need to shout this from the rooftops. And number 4, this week I will be launching a fund as well as this campaign. I'll be launching merch, which is 1 stream, 1 cent. I'll put together a merch store, and I want people to be able to buy it. I want them to be able to wear the message. I want them to be able to show the message. I want them to be able to tell the world. My promise is all the profits from any piece of merch will go back into helping artists. So I'm not taking any money from it, but this is how we get the message out there that Spotify was, it was really helpful for artists, but we've just hit a roadblock. We cannot continue like this. It's now turned into an abusive relationship where musicians are content creators first, and the anxiety and the mental health, all of the struggles that go into going, yeah, you probably just need to go and do more content. Yeah, you probably just need to go and make more music. Yeah, you probably just need to go and do another bunch of things. Yeah, just don't sleep. If you're getting paid for that, I'm all in. If you put that much work in and you get paid, I'm like, that's the way it should be. I want you to put the work in. I want you to build a fan base. But fuck me, it pains me when it gets to the end of the month and we've done some amazing work and I'm proud of you and I'm like, you smashed that, really well done. And then you get a check that comes through for like, $300. And I'm like, it cost me 1,500 quid to get the whole thing sorted, and I made $300. I'm like, it's lost leader. And then you go, well, maybe I'll get some merch. Not anymore. Maybe I'll go on tour. Good luck with that one. Maybe I'll go onto Patreon. I love Patreon. I think Patreon's amazing. My mum doesn't know what Patreon is. If I said to my mum Patreon, she'd go, what the hell is that? I don't understand it. I love it. It's amazing. It's a great idea. It's brilliant. But we have to tackle this at source. 1 cent. For every stream. 1 stream, 1 cent. Simple as that. So, I'm done with making excuses because I feel like I've backed the industry up and Spotify so many times going, yeah, but you know what? You just got to be more entrepreneurial. And I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. How entrepreneurial do you need to be? Like, as an artist, as a musician, I write songs. Yeah, that's really good. But you need to be Jeff Bezos, really. That's the level of entrepreneurial. It's just got way out of hand. I'm done with helping artists get a genuine audience and get genuine numbers only to basically have this weird kind of high five, ego pat on the back. Meanwhile, you do need to carry on working in your full-time job. So now you've got 2 jobs just because it's the love of it. Meanwhile, you've got anxiety and mental health, and that's bullshit. We're not hobbyists. Just because we do something we love, you are creators. And therefore, all we are asking for, fair pay. The same pay as what Drake would get. The same pay as what Taylor Swift will get. The same pay as what Sabrina Carpenter would get. And if they're better and they get more streams because they're better at what they do, so be it. I've got no problem with that. The problem right now is we are in such an unfair game, and it's painful to watch. And this needs to be the line in the sand. 1 stream, 1 cent. So, I don't know, join the movement. I don't know exactly what this is going to look like. I will get this merch stall up and running as quick as possible. If you can start posting pieces of content, just tag me in it. I don't need you to be like, share my message. I just need you to get behind 1 stream, 1 cent. And I'll start doing my best to pick up the fight. There's enough of us. There's enough of us, and we all think the same thing. There isn't an artist on here that just goes, yes, it seems really fair, actually. I love it. It's brilliant. There isn't not one artist, unless you're signed to a major label and you're making hundreds of millions and you're like, this is fantastic. Outside of that, you talk to a label, it's very fair. You talk to anyone who's taking the lion's share, it's very, very fair. You talk to the artists, honestly, I'm starting to rant now, but I know in Nashville, I have friends with so many artists that have had hundreds of millions of streams that cannot fucking run their car. Like, that's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. And I'm into the control. I am so into the control. But the control has to come at the cost of, but what do I get from the control? I put the work in. I got the control. Great. You get an extra $20. It's not good enough. One stream, 1 cent. I guess who's with me? Let's make a start on the movement. See you guys soon.